Commerce Park Commission to order. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rathel, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is roll call. Mr. Moran is here. Mr. Rathel?
Here.
Mr. Mans?
Here.
Mr. Filarski's excused. Mr. Hornby?
Here.
Mr. Loftus is excused. Mr. Nadeau?
Here.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Nadeau,
Support.
supported by Mr. Mans to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our presentations, and we have none tonight, so we move on to the approval of the minutes of the October 16th, 2023 general meeting. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read the minutes.
I'd like to just table these minutes if we can. It seems like there's some things missing from the minutes that
Had a motion by Mr. Rathel to table the minutes. Is there any support?
Or
Or by Mr. Nadeau. All those in favor say aye.
I
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our financial report for October 2023 financials, and we have our financial before us that we have a budget of a revenue of $1,144,429. Our year-to-date revenue is $694,537, which equals 61% of our budget. And we have budgeted our expenditures at $1,144,429. And our year-to-date encumbrances and expenditures are $898,666, which equals 78% of our budget. We currently have capital reserves as of October 31st of $847,021. In our past due rent summary as of November 1st is $17,616. With that, I'll open it up for any comments or questions or discussion. Anyone have any questions on the financial report? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Mans,
support.
supported by Mr. Nadeau to approve the October 2023 financials. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our action items, and item number 1 is the approval of the DPW lease agreement. We have a resolution before us that reads, based upon the recommendation from the Groh Airport Commerce Park Manager, the Groh Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the lease between the Groh Airport and the DPW. The terms of the agreement are that based on improvements that were made back in 1998, these are amortized over a 38-year time frame, so there's no rent that's being charged because of the amount of the improvements that were made by the DPW for the building that they're currently in.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rathel.
So the agreement will go to 2036, but as far as like a lease, I don't see a lease, I see an amortization schedule, or I should say, what's referred to as a financial report, based upon the value of the building and the improvements put in it. Well, I guess they built it, so the land and the building, but what is the specifics of the lease?
Well,
Have we seen any?
Yeah, I think we
lease
need
or-
to make, I'm assuming it's the continuation of the existing lease, but we do need to put a term on it. So I don't know if the intent was to take it out to 2036 or to some point between now and sometime before that.
As far as I know, we don't have a lease.
Oh, we don't. Was not aware of that. We can table it.
You know, I mean, it was, just like unless there was a lease put together, a general lease put together back 4 years ago when we discussed the lease for the township hall. Do you remember if there was kind of a general outline of a lease?
I
that-
do not remember.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we didn't have a lease for the township hall, nor did we have a lease for the DPS. But I don't know if there was one that Duker put together back 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just a general outline of, saying free rent. I'm not sure, but, in both cases, the amount of monies that were put into the construction of the DPW building and then the amount of monies that were put into the township hall here acted as work in kind for future rent payments, right? That was our objective for both of those, but I would have liked to have seen the lease attached to this if we did have one. Dave, do you know, did Janelle talk to you about that, or?
I have no idea. I mean, this says 1998. But
My recommendation would be we table.
Well, the only thing is
Seeing
that,
the lease.
we need to get this off, right, to,
Well, I think they're being bundled, as far as I know, together.
it seems like everything's being bundled, so, I mean, I would move approval on if we already have a lease, the lease is already approved, right? And then this is just the schedule, taking it out to 2036, which I think the schedule looks good. So I would be willing to approve it based upon an existing lease.
pending a review by the commission.
Rate or rent or lack thereof under this premise, but
Yeah, and if there is one, then,
not a lease until we have one.
right, but I'm saying there may be a lease already, right? That was, if there is, it had to be approved, but, which would be for zero, right? I mean, it wasn't without an amortization schedule or a pay down schedule. So this could be just an addendum to that lease, but it doesn't say it, right? It says hereby approves a lease between the airport and DP.
Yeah, and I don't know whether Janelle was working on one and it wasn't finished. What I thought I heard was that either there wasn't one, as you guys recall, or that there was, it couldn't be found. So,
Well, we just can't hold this
And it-
stuff up anymore, especially.
Mr.
with
Athel,
the-
do you know when that lease would have been last approved?
Well, I remember back about 4 years or so ago, when the FAA came and wanted us to put together a lease for the township hall here. And I thought Duker kind of just didn't do much with it. I don't ever remember approving a lease, which would have been for zero, obviously, but to get zero, we had to have an amortization, I'm calling it an amortization schedule, but we had to have a reason why it was zero, right? Because FAA and MDOT wants to know why it has to be a fair market value lease. So how did we come up to that? This is how we came up to it with the DPW, but do we have a lease?
When did they redo this building?
2000 it opened, so 98,
imagine maybe it ties in with this building, maybe?
Mm-mm.
No? I mean, obviously separate lease, but same time period?
Well, I'm willing to, so Janelle made a recommendation, right? So what was the motion, Ron?
Based on the recommendation from the Groseal Airport Commerce Park manager, the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the lease between the Groseal Airport and the DPW.
I guess I'm willing to move that forward just to, the only concern that I would have would be the schedule, the pay down schedule, and that's what we have here, which I'm fine with, so I'm willing to approve this motion as she wrote it.
Got a motion by Mr. Athel, supported by Mr. Manns. Under discussion, it does say under the history, purpose, and explanation that the Groseal Airport Commerce Park Commission has had a lease agreement with the Department of Public Services since June 1, 1998. So there is a lease in place. Okay, we've got a motion by Mr. Athel, supported by Mr. Manns. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. Motion carries. Action item number 2 is the approval of the Freshwater Technology LLC lease agreement. We have a resolution before us that reads, based upon the resolution from the Groseal Airport Commerce Park manager, the Groseal Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the lease between Groseal Airport and Freshwater Technologies LLC. It is for an 18-month lease of 9510 Groh Road. It's approximately 6,600 square feet, and the use is going to be for a dog kennel / daycare. The amount of and there are a number of items that the Commerce Park Commission is going to make improvements to the building, and there are a number of improvements that the tenant is going to make. And the rent will start on either the day of the tenant opening for business or receipt of a certificate of occupancy, whichever is later.
I move that forward.
Got a motion by Mr. Rathel,
I'll support.
or by Mr. Manns. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Nadeau?
didn't this commission approve a lease for the sideline building for them? Do we have to undo? No. Do we have to rescind? And I don't remember if we actually approved the lease or if the lease was pending approval by the planning commission. It's going back,
That's a good point, and I'm not sure I know the answer to that, Mr. Nadeau.
Paul's here. You're gonna, Paul, give the history of that.
oh, I didn't see,
We had a letter of understanding to hold the property until the planning commission and all the other.
okay, so there was never actually
Never
a
right.
lease, or
There was
we
never
never.
a lease, right, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
good enough.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Manns. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Our action item number 3 is an extension of the following leases: Douglas West, Alpaca Farm, 27502 Meridian for O'Hanlon and Redline, which is Suite 600, Axiom, which is Suite 300, and Expert Mechanical, which is Suite 600. We have a resolution in front of us that reads, based upon the recommendation from the Groseal Airport Commerce Park manager, the Groseal Commerce Park Commission hereby approves the extensions of the leases between Douglas West, the Alpaca Farm, O'Hanlon and Redline, Axiom, and Expert Mechanical. And the Douglas West lease is for an extension for 1 year. for building and land for the Alpaca Farm is for a 10-year extension. And for 27502 Meridian, Building 63, Suite 600, Suite 900 for O'Hanlon and Redline Landscaping Services, an extension of 1 year. For Axiom Graphics, which is a sign company, an extension of 1 year. And for Suite 600, which is for Expert Mechanical Services, it's an extension of 1 year. All existing tenants, and these are all extensions. Is there any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Or,
Motion by Mr. Rathel, supported by Mr. Nadeau. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. Motion carries. Next item is our discussion items, and our only discussion item tonight is the Island Athletics roof. As you may remember, back a month or two ago, we went out for bids to find out what the cost of repairing the roof would be at the former tennis center and the Island Athletics current tenant. And it was in the neighborhood of about $700,000, and there was some discussion that the commission did not want to pay that kind of money to repair that roof. So we've got a couple different options, and that is, do we just continue to repair it as we've been doing for a number of years? Do we just let it go until it gets to the point where I guess we would have to close the facility? Or there was some discussion about, do we approve to move forward with receiving bids to demo the building? So with that, I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, I think everybody agrees that $700 and some thousand would not be a prudent, that's, and I also understand that there's another $250,000 in repairs at fans and siding and that kind of stuff. So you might be looking at $1 million with the rent that's being paid to us. It's going to take a long time to recoup that money, and I know that some members of the commission are in favor of trying to maintain a tennis facility, but it seems to me that we're in the landlord business and not really in the tennis business.
It's much more than a tennis facility.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot more recreation that goes on.
I understand.
But yeah, I understand.
Just,
And we do also have a memo that was sent to Janelle from Island Athletics talking about some of the improvements. If you remember the last lease that we signed with them, there was a reduction in rent. And in exchange for that reduction, the tenant was going to make a number of improvements. And they talk about those improvements and some of the issues that they have to deal with because of the leaky roof. So there are some complications because that roof is leaking, and they don't always have the total use of the building because of water on courts and in the building in general. Is there any other thoughts about what to do with the building?
Well, I just would like, hopefully our last option is demolition. Hopefully we can go through every conceivable option. And I don't have the magic bullet either, but I think not only as a recreation center, but as a piece of the Naval Air Base, it would really be a bummer for the community. So hopefully that's the last option. I don't know. We've had this issue on our plate for the last 10 years. But I'm willing to work hard to figure out a way to somehow try to salvage. But it doesn't make sense throwing good money after bad. I totally agree with Mr. Nadeau. And that is a tremendously expensive repair or roof. So, thanks.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rayfield.
so I think we just need to simplify it, and we've been at this for a long time, so there's no further research that really needs to be done in my mind. And that is, even if we were to double the rent, okay, and we're getting, I think, a little bit more now than we have for many, many years, maybe forever, in that building from our tenant. But let's say that we even double it. It's not going to justify $1 million expenditure, and Treasurer Nadeau may be correct. You have $750,000 proposal on the roof, but let's say they cut that back, say it's $700,000. You've got outside repairs, you have lighting, but let's say $1 million. I mean, it could be less than that, but if it's 800, it doesn't matter. The amount of rent, even if we doubled it, will not provide an ROI for the Commerce Park. And since we're essentially a business that stands alone without taxpayer funding, and we collect rents, and then we have expenditures. We look at all of our expenditures of what is the return, just like a person who owns their own business would do. So for that kind of investment into that building would never justify the investment. It cannot. It never has been, okay? But why has it been there? Well, because the airport has subsidized the building for all these years. And the building has been in a certain amount of disrepair over the years, and we put money into it. And the current tenant, Alan and Bobby, have done a great job. Alan has done a great job in the lobby, in the bathrooms, and so there's been a lot of things done to that building for sure. I mean, they have really stepped up in that effort. But the airport can't justify the expense. We can't, as much as we want. So we have a 40,000 square foot athletic facility down there that has been proven that the community desires. It's full, a lot, with tennis and pickleball and gym and classes, and Bobby and Alan do a great job of providing community services of fundraisers and special events on Friday nights, and people come from off island to use it, and a lot of islanders use it on a regular basis. So the facility has become not a Commerce Park activity of rent and justification of our rent like we just approved tonight. We justified those leases based upon the return and our investment into the buildings. And even we justified the rent for the DPW building in the township. We justified it. How much money did these agencies, the DPW and the township, put into an airport facility to justify that rent? Every single facility on this airport is justified financially. The airport, or the tennis facility or the athletic facility, has only been justified as a community service or an historical building, right? Like what you just said. But now we're looking at $1 million investment, and I can't see how the airport, especially after just spending $500,000 on the roof of this hangar for the township hall here, that the airport had to do. And that was not justified financially. That was just basically have an airport pay for the roof here at the township, right? But, you know, it's a community benefit, it's the airport, it's an important piece of the operation of the airport, not even to get into the historic preservation side of it, but it's just a community center, Island Fest, all the wonderful things that this hangar does for the community. So what does all that mean? The community, whatever form that takes, has to decide whether they want that building. And how they decide to do it, I don't know. And quite honestly, it's not up to this Commerce Park Commission to decide that. How do they get money to that facility to save it for the benefit of this community? And maybe they don't want it. Maybe they do not want to financially justify that building. And if they don't want to justify the building, then we can keep nickel and diming it like we have been in the last 5 years and try to replace some things until it just gets to the point where it's not fixable anymore. Or we kick the can down the road and hope somebody, you know, new community members, new township boards, new whatever decide, no, this is important to who we are in this island. This facility defines us as a recreation facility, and we need to do it. But right now, the Commerce Park Commission can't do it, in my mind.
Have we looked at, we know what it costs for a new roof. How about repairs to the roof?
Yep, we've done that, and you're looking at about a $35,000 repair just to do that one corner, and no one really knows how long that's going to last, and there's been leaks farther down on the south side than just that one corner. But we looked at everything. We looked at coating it. We looked at attaching different material to it instead of just tearing it off and replace. So Ohio, our Rains engineer, has been over there. Greg has had his guy over there. We have done everything that I think that we can to try to come up with some way to save the roof. And you know, with Bobby and Alan, yeah, I mean, we owe them a building that doesn't leak and that they could utilize to generate revenue. It's hard to, you know, to make them kind of adhere to some of the things that they promise when, you know, every time it rains, they lose a big portion of the building.
Yeah. We can keep, you know, chasing the leak and repairing it. You'll keep putting a Band-Aid on it, but that's only going to last so long because we've been doing that for a while now already. So at some point, we got to decide whether it's going to be a new roof or not. So.
Well, I think in a way we've decided, right? We're not going to spend $700,000 plus on a new roof. Am I correct? I mean, is that still an option?
Yeah, we're not. We're not going to.
So that means that there's not going to be any action taken from this commission on the repair of that building. I think that's kind of our position. Am I correct in that? I mean, there's no action item in front of us to do anything to the building.
No, but I think we as a commission have to make a decision, what is our next step?
And if, Mr. Chairman, if we have to deliver a sound building to our tenants, so I don't want to say we're not doing anything. I don't think that's right either. So, yeah, we have to figure out what the pain threshold is. Is it another 30 grand? Is it another 50 grand? Is it nothing? Because we'll have another expenditure with the roof coming up in the next 6-8 months, as history has told us.
So then, maybe we need to have Janelle put together something for us to take action on, you know, like, okay, here's the new roof, the cost of that. Here is a repair, the cost of that, and how long that will last.
About here, the repairs, the last 5 years, all the expenditures we put into the roof as a, baseline.
I think it would be a good idea to have a summary of what we've already put into that,
100%.
yeah.
So, at the next meeting, she can have all that, and then we can officially or formally decide, an action or a direction.
That works for me, but I would like to get this, take some direction, or give some direction as to what we're gonna do next. We've been talking about this now for a couple months, and we have to decide what we want to do, so. I will get with Janelle and make sure she puts together a report on what we spent to date and what it's gonna cost to either do a short-term fix, we already know what the long-term fix is, and what our other options are.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Mans?
It may also be helpful for folks if she puts a return, like an ROI, if we did repair the roof, assuming $1 million, total in, and what that would be, so people can see what the ROI would be, if anyone lived that long.
Well, that's part of the issue, it'd take a long time.
Oh, I know, I just think it's
But
important.
in
people
that
see it.
long time, in an old building, other things are gonna come up,
Agreed.
and you're gonna be piling on, at the same time you're paying it down. So it's still, I would like more numbers myself, but I think we kinda have,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Nadeau?
when she puts that together, if as part of, and maybe it's a separate line item, but these other things that are mentioned in this memorandum, thermostats, lights, tree removals, yada, yada, is it worth getting some of those things priced so that if we decide to give the roof a repair one more time, and this might be throwing good money after bad, but if we can fix up some of these things, and I don't know whether those in and of themselves or with a roof repair would extend the life of that business, more than 6 or 8 months.
I think it would be helpful to have an idea what the other repairs are gonna cost.
Yeah, as a separate item, so that, just so we can look at everything there.
I don't see fans mentioned there. So
No, I
thermostats,
didn't
lights,
either.
fans, siding.
I know that came up at the last meeting.
Well, I would think that what we're asking is putting everything that we've talked about over the last number of years here into a report for us to look at and make a decision on at a meeting, which makes sense. I mean, I agree with that. However, I can tell you that it's going to be a lot of work to compile all that, and maybe Greg, you can work with Janelle and help her with that, from a time standpoint of collecting all this information and getting it to us. I mean, would you be willing to step up for that?
Yeah, I'm thinking some of that she may already have, or Alan may have already talked to some.
Well, yeah, all the information is out there, right? It's just bringing it all together, like Chairman Moran just said, bringing it all together to make a decision one way or another.
Or a demolition quote.
We have that.
Okay, I will get with Janelle and we'll have something for our next meeting. The next item on our agenda is our manager's report. I don't know if anyone has any of this information. Janelle's not here with us tonight, so these were all items that she was going to bring up. The taxiway ribbon cutting, the taxiway wrap-up, the history of the wheels update, the vintage market, and the Rock CF half marathon. Anyone have any information about those items?
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I'd just
Ray?
like to You know, we talked at the Planning Commission meeting last month about the benefit of the airport to the community. And, you know, aviation comes up, but there's so much more. In the last three, the Histories on Wheels is a great event here at the airport, and that's going to take place again. It's getting bigger and bigger. Last year, it was planned to be a very large event, but the weather, they didn't have a rain date, but they're excited to come back, and that's a huge draw. The vintage market, which took place a couple of weeks ago, was a huge success. Just
A lot of people.
It was incredible, and I think I lost a bet to Janelle on that. She supported that, and it was the second successful major event here. A lot of people, and then the Rock CF continues to grow. That is a national known race now, and people come from all over, and I think there's international runners that come for this. And it's all right here at the airport that allows residents and visitors to come. And all three of those are happening again this year or next year. And I just wanted to point those out of the facility being a benefit outside of just aviation for a few people that have planes.
We'll have this on next month's agenda, so Janelle can give us a further update on all of these items. Next item on the agenda is subcommittee reports. We have none tonight. Commission member, anybody have any open business? Any open business? Hearing none. The next item is the commission chair report. I have nothing new to report tonight, so we will open it up to public comment. I see no one else in the audience, so we will have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Athel, supported by Mr. Mans to adjourn at 6:38. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. Motion carries.